Hello, and welcome to another episode of Spiritual Astrology with Alice and Taylor-Moseley. Today, we are going to cover the astrological energies, transits, and spiritual themes for the upcoming Mercury retrograde in Cancer. So, the important dates to know is that Mercury will be in Cancer from June 1st to August 22nd, but she won't begin her retrograde until June 29 at 26 degrees Cancer. And from there, she travels back to 16 degrees Cancer before turning direct on July 23rd. So the retrograde happens from June 29 to July 23rd. So you want to locate 16 degrees Cancer to 26 degrees Cancer in your chart because that's the area of life that Mercury is going to be revisiting. Now, the purpose of a Mercury retrograde is to revisit something that you need to see again in your Cancer house that deals with the mercurial themes of communication, travel, learning, education, daily life, routines, habits, but also the mind, what you're thinking about, your perception of something, how or what you're learning, and how you're processing something. So let's get into the general Mercury in Cancer themes. When Mercury's in Cancer, this is where she taps into her heart, how she feels. Mercury is the planet that rules your mind. And when Mercury changes signs, your mind shifts and you start thinking about topics related to that sign and to the house that Mercury is traveling through, which is your Cancer house. So when Mercury travels through Cancer, our mind turns to our private thoughts and our feelings. Cancer is about memories. It's related to the past. And that can bring up old emotions and feelings that Mercury needs to process. Mercury may want to share what she's learned or come across or whatever she's come to understand about how she feels when she's in Cancer. Now, Jupiter's been in Cancer since June 2025, and that has brought in a lot of wisdom and knowledge about topics related to home and family, your private emotional world, your emotional cycles, your childhood themes, memories, the past. And now that Mercury is in Cancer, you can articulate those themes, those feelings in a way you were not able to do before. So when Mercury's in Cancer, it gives your feelings a voice. You have words to describe how you feel. Now, alternatively, you could be on the receiving end of an important message, and someone might be sharing with you something that's really important to them. So how do you want to receive that information? And that can happen at any point during Mercury's journey through Cancer, whether she's retrograde or not. So be open to what others are feeling as well. Now, Mercury is also about how you get around. It's the people that you talk to regularly, and you might visit or get in touch with people from your past, family, and that could stir up old memories. Mercury in Cancer processes information more privately. That Cancer energy is very protective and very private and very internal. So you might feel like you're holding back on sharing something because you need to process how you feel first. When Mercury's in Cancer, she's governed by the moon. And so Mercury in Cancer helps you better understand what you and other people are feeling. Mercury in Cancer is more sensitive and caring when she speaks in Cancer. And she does want to share how she feels, and she wants to feel safe doing it. If she doesn't feel safe to share, she can act indirect or more defensive. She could respond emotionally. If she feels threatened, she might have a triggering response. If she gets carried away with how she feels, she can say the wrong thing. So it's important for Mercury in Cancer to tap into how she truly feels, sit with her feelings, process them so she can articulate her truth factually. So it's a very internal energy. The mind processes what you're feeling. Now, when the Mercury retrograde begins. That's June 29. And Mercury will station retrograde on June 29 at 26 degrees, 15 minutes Cancer. At that time, Mercury will still be co-present with Jupiter and the Sun in Cancer, but Jupiter's at that last degree of Cancer when Mercury begins her retrograde, and that's very powerful. When planets are at 29 degrees, they do become more intense. It's like that last-ditch attempt to make a powerful impact before changing signs. So Jupiter at 29 degrees, things are coming together for Jupiter, exciting opportunities, a bigger understanding, a breakthrough, maybe a gift. And Mercury is there to help process and clean up whatever Jupiter brought up in your Cancer house since she arrived back in June 2025. Jupiter's job is to plant seeds for a new 12-year cycle in your Cancer house, show you more of what's possible and help you expand that area of your life. So when Mercury comes through, when she begins her retrograde, that's June 29, she actually only makes one aspect during her retrograde. And it's a very powerful one. And it happens on July 12 at 20 degrees Cancer. Mercury retrograde will conjunct the Sun at 20 degrees Cancer. When Mercury conjuncts the Sun, that's called a Mercury cazimi. And it's a powerful purification of the mind. It can give Mercury in Cancer a surge of insight, a breakthrough, a clear understanding around how she feels or around the themes of your Cancer house. This supports your growing consciousness, and it can reveal true feelings, and that can lead to clear decision making. So it's very positive. The last time that Mercury was conjunct the Sun was May 14, but it was at 23 degrees Taurus. And that was a breakthrough around finances, your lifestyle, spending, job, money, what you own, what you value in life. Now they meet again in Cancer, but Mercury's retrograde this time. It's all about emotional security, home, family, private life. And there's something that you're being called to look at again at 20 degrees Cancer in your chart when she connects with the Sun. Now, Jupiter will enter Leo at the end of the month, June 30. So her journey through Cancer is almost over at this point, and she won't be back for 12 years. But she has planted seeds in your Cancer house. And Jupiter has been expanding that area of life since June 2025, and that's brought in wisdom, new understanding about your emotional world, helping you see the bigger picture and a more elevated view of the patterns and cycles that played out in your childhood, in your emotional world, how you process your feelings, and how you self-protect. And then that Mercury conjunct Sun feels like a breakthrough understanding about your perception of what happened, what it means, and everything that you've learned. So Mercury conjunct Sun on July 12 could bring in more clarity. Now, one thing that you need to be aware of with that Cancer energy is that it wants to self-protect, and it relies on her memory to do that, because memories are linked to emotions. Cancers are emotions, and memories are linked to our emotions because the body remembers emotional pain so it can self-protect. But it's something that you could do unconsciously. It depends on how aware you are. Cancer's a very sensitive area of your chart, and it can cause you to be defensive at times. It's where memories play a role in how the events and circumstances of that house will play out. And your behavior in this area of your chart, the Cancer area, can be very subconscious depending on how self-aware you are, how evolved you are in your spiritual journey. A big part of the spiritual journey is becoming conscious, waking up. And that means seeing yourself in a more realistic light. And Jupiter in Cancer may have helped you better understand your internal world, how you process your feelings subconsciously, and how you perceive the outside world and how you're interpreting it. And that Mercury conjunct Sun brings in more awareness around how you may have grown past some of those patterns. Maybe you've healed them completely. And now you're aware of how you process information through a new filter. from a higher perspective or frequency. It's awareness. The sun blasts Mercury with consciousness. And you're meant to trust what you're sensing and feeling. This is when it pays off to have a really strong connection to your gut and your instincts and your body's messages so that you can trust what you're feeling. Now, other people may be at the beginning of their journey into understanding more about their internal world. We're all at different parts of our unique journey. We're all at different stages. And that Mercury Cazimi might make you want to communicate this new understanding or your feelings. Maybe you've already communicated this once before, but now you have a bigger understanding, or maybe there's more information that's come in and it changes things. It changes how you feel. So be aware that other people may be wanting to share. They may be having a breakthrough, and you as well. And a good way to use this window of opportunity with Mercury conjunct Sun is to write or communicate or journal your feelings. So for some people, you might need to get quiet. It could be very internal. But something does break through. And that Mercury retrograde conjunct the Sun can bring in a need to have a clarifying conversation about your feelings so you can move forward on something in your Cancer house. Because Mercury's retrograde, so you might be revisiting something that you discussed before. Maybe new information comes in about how you feel and you need to bring something up again. So this can be a good time to set a new intention around the Mercury themes in your life. What needs a reset in your Cancer house around the Mercury themes of communication? What important feelings do you need to share or get out? And also, where's your natal Mercury? This can bring in another layer to the story and help you see the bigger picture. It can bring in an answer or something to focus on that can steer you in the right direction. Now, that's July 12. Mercury retrograde conjunct the Sun at 20 degrees Cancer. Mercury continues to travel backwards as she's retrograding through Cancer, all the way back to 16 degrees, 19 minutes Cancer. And then she stations direct on July 23rd. Now, what's interesting is by this point, once Mercury's direct on July 23rd, the energetic landscape has drastically changed since Mercury first entered Cancer. Now Mars is in Gemini, Sun is in Leo, Jupiter's in Leo, and Jupiter's opposite Pluto. Plus we have the Uranus-Pluto trine, and they're both forming a sextile to Neptune. And we have Chiron in Taurus. So all of these changes can bring up so many new feelings to process. So your feelings may change more than once as new information comes in and new things develop in directions that you didn't expect. So be aware that these bigger energies are going to play into your Mercury retrograde story. And this Mercury retrograde is very different because we're working with these totally new energies. Now, on July 23rd, that's when Mercury stations direct at 16 degrees Cancer. She goes back over that same territory for a third and final 16 to 26 degrees Cancer. Now, as she's stationing direct, she starts forming a sextile to Venus in Virgo, which goes exact the following day on July 24th. Now, Mercury sextile Venus is positive. It's fun. It's social. It encourages harmonious interaction and creativity. It can be very satisfying, and people are on the same page. This is when solutions come through to support the changes that Mercury faced during the retrograde. Now, Venus in Virgo is focused on her work, and Mercury in Cancer can show her something to help improve a work-related matter. And if you're a creative person, maybe you find your inspiration or it's easier to complete something. Don't forget, too, that Mercury had a big breakthrough on July 12th when she was conjunct the sun. So if something came through then, now you're able to implement and connect with the right people, finalize the detail. Venus in Virgo finds satisfaction in self-improvement, and she wants to be efficient in her life, in her routine. So she might revisit a health matter, or new information comes in that leads to some improvements somewhere in her work, life, routine, or with her health, or goals that she has, changes she wants to make in her life, in her daily life. Venus in Virgo is very focused on the details. She wants things to run smoothly. And Mercury in Cancer brings in this kind, caring communication that Venus and Virgo appreciate. And Venus in Virgo wants to help, be of service. And that's very supportive to Mercury. So maybe you have a home and family related matter that needs to be taken care of. And Venus in Virgo helps you get things. This is also helpful in carrying out the detail of the bigger story that's playing out in your life. We have that rare alignment between Uranus at 4 degrees Gemini, Pluto at 4 degrees Aquarius, Neptune at 4 degrees Aries, plus that Jupiter opposite Pluto. It's such a rare energy lining up. And Mercury's going to help process that story. Don't forget that Mercury governs Uranus in Gemini. So now that Mercury is direct, expect things to move faster. There will be breakthroughs happening, things coming together unexpectedly, things developing quickly, surprises. We're kind of entering now the second half of 2026. It's going to look very different from the first half because the astrological landscape has changed so much at this point. And that Mercury in Cancer is part of that story. She's been through her retrograde at this point. She's given her feelings a voice. She's expressed how she feels, maybe twice, maybe more, because her feelings may have changed since everything else has changed around her. So how does this relate to your own chart? What you want to do is you want to look and see if you have planets or points in your chart between 26 and 16 degrees Cancer. And if you have anything in Cancer, Mercury's going to conjunct those planets and activate a new cycle between Mercury and the planet that it's conjunct. If you have planets or points between 16 and 26 degrees Capricorn, Mercury will oppose those planets and require balance between you and like an outside energy. You have to balance those two energies, the Capricorn Cancer energy. If you have planets or points between 16 and 26 degrees Libra or Aries, Mercury will square those planets, and that will create tension and require compromise. If you have planets or points between 16 and 26 degrees Virgo or Taurus, Mercury will sextile those planets and bring in something supportive and helpful. And if you have planets or points between 16 and 26 degrees Scorpio or Pisces, Mercury will trine those planets and bring in ease and opportunity. So how this plays out for you and someone else could be very different, but we are working with those general themes. Mercury will stay in Cancer until August 10, when she enters Leo, and she will very quickly make many aspects to Chiron, Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, and Venus. And we'll get into those transits in my weekly podcast. But the most important moment of the Mercury retrograde in Cancer is July 12th. The Sun and Mercury meet 20 degrees Cancer, that Mercury Cazimi big breakthrough point in the retrograde when things become clear. How about how you feel? And there's Cancer themes in your chart. And after Mercury turns direct, things start to make sense, decisions become easier, communication improves, and solutions will emerge. And remember, it's all happening against the backdrop of these major collective shifts with Jupiter, Uranus, Pluto, and Neptune. And because of this, the emotional insights that arrive during the retrograde might be connected to a larger life change that's unfolding this summer and for the rest of this year. So your emotional, this is like a Mercury's journey through Cancer is like a journey back through your emotional landscape, helping you understand the past and find clarity about your feelings and communicate them from a more conscious and authentic place moving forward. So I hope this brings you clarity and prepares you for what's to come. As always, thank you for being here. And remember to stay in your highest vibration to receive all the gifts that the universe has for you. Take care, and I'll see you soon.